Hi, and welcome to DrupalBrief. This is an AI-generated summary of another video, podcast, or blog post. If you want to learn more about what's being discussed here, then please go check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. Okay, that's it. Make sure to click subscribe, and here we go.
Okay, let's dig into this. We got this really interesting snippet from a chat between two people who are, deep in the tech and design world.
Right. And what's cool is how it jumps around, doesn't it?
Totally. Like 1 minute it's about getting a bicycle across the Atlantic, the next it's deep into design systems, and then boom, AI.
Yeah. Covers a surprising amount of ground.
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack their conversation. We want to pull out those key insights, how tech connects us, how tools like Drupal have evolved.
The whole design system thing, which is huge now.
Exactly. And these different viewpoints on AI, what it's actually good for right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, expect a mix of tech talk, personal stories, some pretty sharp observations along the way.
And it all weaves together, really. That's
Yeah.
the fascinating part. It's not just random topics.
How so?
Well, you mentioned connections, the travel, the software platforms, even AI. It's all about systems, right? Systems of code, systems of people connecting, community, collaboration. That's all in there.
That's a great way to put it. And it kicks off right away with that idea of focusing on how platforms, specifically Drupal, help build those connections, even across continents.
Right. And the example is attending that Beyond Teller End conference in Dusseldorf, Germany.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about that conference.
Well, it's got roots in the web world, definitely, but it's broadened out. Big focus on design, creativity. One of the co-founders, Mark Bolton, also involved with Smashing Conference, which maybe more people know.
Oh, okay.
And this Dusseldorf event, apparently it was kind of special for him, closer to his hometown than the Berlin one.
Gotcha. And the bike story. That's where it gets really practical.
Yeah. Taking a bike to Germany sounds like a pain.
Right. But apparently not so bad. They used this special case, an OR case, ORUCASE. Lets you pop the wheels and handlebars off your road bike. Folds down just enough.
To count as standard check luggage.
Exactly. No extra bike fee. Genius.
Yeah, it really is a solid travel hack. Check it in, maybe toss an AirTag in there just in case.
They did. They mentioned using an AirTag.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the conference organizer helped them get a bigger cab for the case on the other end.
Nice. And it sounds like it got some good rides in.
Oh, yeah. 3 rides, including a big one, 100 miles into the Netherlands.
Right.
With the conference guy, Mark, and someone else, Hans.
100 miles. Wow.
Which led to that funny bit about tracking distance in miles when you're in metric land,
Hey, yeah, always a little adjustment.
So the AirTag thing came up again naturally from that.
Right, their usefulness.
Yeah.
And sometimes their limits.
Like that science fair project idea, trying to track a bottle in the bay with an AirTag to measure, gravitational pull?
Yeah, great concept, but AirTags don't use satellites.
Nope. They need iPhones nearby to ping off. So the experiment was kind of doomed.
Still, points for creativity. Though they did joke maybe the data got massaged a little for the poster board.
Probably. But then you contrast that with the other story.
The lost luggage.
Yeah, a bag stuck at LAX for 3 whole weeks. But because of the AirTag inside, they knew exactly where it was the whole time. That's genuinely useful.
That's real peace of mind. Totally different from hoping the airline finds it eventually.
It made me think of this ancient story way back, pre-Adventures in Content, Macworld, maybe early 2000s.
Okay.
We had our trade show booth graphics shipped in this ridiculously bright blue golf case. Hard to miss.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the plane in San Francisco looking out the window, and I see our blue case on a luggage cart heading towards the wrong plane.
No way.
Yes. Had to basically yell through the window, point like a maniac. They got it off just in time.
Wow. That would have been disastrous for the show.
Oh, absolutely. You show up to a trade show without your booth, you're done.
So yeah, knowing where your stuff is, huge. But going back to connections, these tech communities like Drupal's, they build lasting bonds.
Definitely. Like reconnecting with Mario Rader on Blue Sky. They hadn't spoken in, over 10 years?
Yeah, met at Future Web Design NYC in 2011, then DrupalCon Munich in 2012. And seeing him online again, it was like no time had passed at all.
That's the sign of a real connection.
And they mentioned going to their first DrupalCon together way back in Austin, just said it was great fun. It really paints a picture of that community side.
You can feel that warmth, can't you?
Yeah.
And how much those face-to-face interactions were missed during the pandemic.
Oh, for sure. One of them mentioned traveling like crazy in 2019, 20 events, 9 countries.
Whoa. That's a lot.
Yeah, admitted it was too much. But the pandemic hitting really drove home how much their social life revolved around those conference connections.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal now isn't that crazy schedule, but maybe, 3 or 4 key conferences a year, get that human connection back.
Okay, so we've got the community, the connections built around the tech. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about the tech itself, the evolution of Drupal, these related ideas.
Right. And the starting point seemed to be way back, like 2008, working with Marriott. That was their first taste of Drupal in a big commercial setting.
Yeah, at Adventures in Content, yeah. And there was this specific technical challenge.
Yeah, they built a Drupal site, but it had 2 completely different themes, different looks, served from different URLs, but all running off the same Drupal core.
Okay.
And apparently the Marriott folks were like, you can do that. They didn't think it was possible back then.
Huh. That's interesting. A flex early on.
Definitely made an impression. They even remembered it years later visiting the hotel it was for, the Renaissance in Boston.
And even though they're not deep in Drupal day-to-day now, they mentioned missing a specific part of it.
The system part of it, yeah.
Which leads right into what they're doing now, right? At Chewy.
Exactly. Building this big, complex design system. It's used across all sorts of platforms there.
Including
A Drupal site.
Including a Drupal site, PEMD, their content site.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the twist. That Drupal site uses a React front end.
Ah, so it's decoupled.
Yep. And that React front end pulls directly from their central design system components.
So that project was kind of a proof of concept for the design system? Totally. It proved out their model of having shared components, but allowing different brands like PDMeD versus the main Chewy store to have their own distinct typography and colors via tokens.
Speaking of Drupal building blocks, they mentioned the paragraphs module with real fondness.
Yeah. Like, it was almost an early version of a design system, letting you build content flexibly, piece by piece.
Mm-hmm. That component thinking.
And they used that same principle when building the system for the state of Rhode Island back in 2020, 2021.
How did paragraphs compare to Layout Builder in Drupal, in their view?
Layout Builder seemed good for the overall page structure, the big blocks. But for the actual content within those blocks, paragraphs felt more flexible, at least for that specific Rhode Island project. Maybe using a bit of both.
And the latest thing in Drupal, Experience Builder.
Described as very cool. Sounds like it really embraces this component-based design system approach directly within Drupal. More flexibility.
So this leads to a strong advocacy moment in the conversation for component-based design systems generally.
Oh, yeah. Big time. The benefits are just huge. Test once, use everywhere. Scalability, SEO, consistency, efficiency.
They basically said companies got to be doing this. It just makes sense.
But, and it's a big but, actually implementing them. Especially in large organizations, that's the rub.
It's not easy. Getting buy-in, getting people to actually use it.
Takes way more effort and repetition than you'd think. Like 3 or 4 times more communication.
Why the resistance, do you think? What came up?
Often it's brand silos. Teams worried about losing control or their budget or not having enough flexibility if they use a central system.
Right, the not invented here syndrome or fear of constraints.
Exactly. But the argument is that a good design system actually saves budget overall, often gives more useful flexibility within guardrails, and systematizes things for better efficiency and brand consistency.
The skill of the architect building it is key then, building the right kind of flexibility.
Absolutely crucial. And they shared a really smart strategy for that. Build and test the system from the start with multiple different expressions in mind. Don't just build for one brand.
Okay.
Ideally, pick like 3 really distinct use cases. Maybe an enterprise app look, a content site like their PEMD example, and a main e-commerce storefront.
So you force yourself to account for different needs, spacing, typography, density, right from day one.
Exactly. Build that flexibility in from the ground up. And think about apps too. Should the native app feel identical to mobile web, or does it need its own nuances? Usually it needs some differences.
And it's not just the visual design, right? The system thinking goes deeper.
Oh, yeah. Content modeling, content construction, the authoring workflow for the people actually using the system day to day, it all connects.
Any practical advice for someone starting out, maybe a new client?
Yeah, the MVP approach. Start with your 3 or 4 most complex brands or products first.
Really? Not the easiest.
Nope, the hardest. Because if you can make the system flexible enough for them, it'll likely work for the simpler ones too. Stress test it early.
That makes sense. And then there was this really strong statement about governance.
The technology is not that important. It's the governance. Yeah, that stood out.
Wow. Why is governance more important than the tech itself?
Well, think about it. The tech is the set of tools, the components, the tokens, the website showing it all. But getting hundreds, maybe thousands of people across different teams and brands to use it consistently, to contribute back appropriately, to agree on changes.
That's the people problem, the process problem.
Exactly. That's governance. Setting the rules of the road, getting buy-in, managing contributions, handling updates. The tech enables governance. Good tokens make it easy to stay on brand, but it doesn't guarantee adoption. That takes ongoing effort.
So tokenizing things like colors and fonts is just step one. A no-brainer, as they put it.
Right. Centralizes basic decisions. If the brand blue needs a tweak, you change it in one place, the token, and it ripples everywhere.
They also talked about an open source model, but inside the company.
Yeah, or a contribution model. Like if 3 different brands all need a new map component, instead of each building their own slightly different version.
They pool their budget or resources to build one really good one for the central design system.
Exactly. Then everyone benefits. It avoids duplication, builds a stronger core system, kind of like how modules evolve on Drupal.org, popular needs get more community effort.
What if you can't build this huge system up front? Is there another way?
Yeah, the paving the cow path idea.
Okay, explain that.
Instead of designing the whole system in a vacuum, you just build your sites and apps. But as you go, you consciously look for patterns you're repeating.
Things you find yourself building over and over.
Right. And the rule of thumb they mentioned from Dan Mall is if you need that same pattern in at least 3 different places.
Then it's probably worth abstracting out into a reusable component for the system.
Exactly. Build a system based on proven needs, not just guesses.
That feels more organic, maybe more achievable for some teams. They get pretty specific about their tech stack, too.
Yeah, a quick rundown. Figma for design.
Standard.
Token Studio, a Figma plugin to manage the design tokens, storing that data as JSON in GitHub.
Okay, code-based tokens?
Then Style Dictionary takes that JSON from GitHub and automatically generates the actual code variables like CSS custom properties.
So designers update tokens in Figma, it goes to GitHub, Style Dictionary spits out code.
Well, pretty much. It automates that pipeline. Then React components use those CSS properties. Zero height for the documentation website.
Gotcha.
And Storybook to actually display and interact with the React components.
So that automation is how they can spin up new themes so fast. One sprint.
That's the idea. Define the new brand's tokens, run the pipeline, boom, engineers have the variables. Storybook sounds K2.
How so?
It brings it all together. You can see the components using the tokens, see the design specs, even plan out content structure before the CMS is ready, and that theme switcher feature.
Right, seeing one component instantly rendered in different brand styles.
Super powerful for testing and demos. They mentioned you can connect Storybook directly to Drupal, but they hadn't personally done it yet.
Okay, so stepping back from the deep tech, this all loops back to skills, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Skills learned in Drupal, for instance, aren't just Drupal skills.
Not at all. There's systems thinking skills, content modeling skills, community building skills, hugely transferable.
They mentioned folks who'd moved on from Drupal but stayed in tech.
Yeah, Kaleem Clarkson doing remote work consulting, Jeff Eaton deep in content strategy, now at Contentful after an acquisition, still applying those core web and content principles.
And the personal story, your wife, Helen. From Drupal e-commerce to running a home decor shop.
Right, Stewart House. And honestly, her background was incredibly helpful setting up the Shopify store, understanding inventory, themes, content structure. That knowledge and just the confidence from the Drupal world translated directly.
That led to comparing Shopify and Drupal, right?
Yeah, basically. Shopify is great if commerce is king and content is secondary. Drupal shines if content is the main event. And e-commerce is more of a side dish because its content tools are just way more flexible.
Using both might work for some. Drupal for content, Shopify for store, but maybe only at certain scales.
Seems like it. Depends on the business needs.
Okay, so from people connecting to tech connecting. The conversation then pivots to connecting with machines. AI.
Yeah, just the simple question, are you using it?
And bam, 2 very different takes.
Instantly, one speaker was like, no way is AI doing my writing, because the act of writing is their thinking process.
Can relate to that.
While the other was more like, yeah, sure, I use it. Finds it useful for generating stuff from prompts, make me sound smart by pulling info together.
Do they agree on any uses?
Definitely on the coding side. Code reviews, summarizing pull requests. That seemed like a clear win.
Dries. Using Claude Code for Drupal module updates got a flipping cool mention.
Right. Using it as an assistant to collate info or flag things for a human to check. That makes sense.
There was some skepticism about the current hype, though.
Yeah, a feeling that people are aiming too high, looking for AI to be this genius creator and missing, what was the phrase?
Profoundly mundane aspects that could be incredibly valuable.
That's it. Like the e-commerce example.
Normalizing product data.
Exactly. You get messy data from thousands of vendors using AI to clean it up, standardize it. That's not glamorous, but it makes comparison tools work way better.
And comparison tools are huge for customers. That and reviews.
Right. So improving that mundane data directly impacts a critical user experience. They mentioned Best Buy hiding identical specs in comparisons. Good data enables that.
So the model is AI as an assistant, not the boss.
Yeah, Jarvis from Iron Man doing data analysis, but with the human asking the questions. Though sometimes, they admitted, current AI feels more like that clumsy robot arm setting things on fire by mistake.
Huh. Good analogy. Other potential uses.
Product selection via chat, find me shoes without wool under $100. Filtering, excluding allergens, that kind of thing.
And for the store owner.
Data analysis. Asking the AI, show me sales trends, what were top products last quarter, any correlation with social media buzz, using it to surface insights from their own data.
What about social media content creation?
That came up, sounded like a mix, one view. If writing a social post is so painful you need AI, maybe just don't post.
Interesting take.
Contrasted with, sometimes you just want to generate something quick without overthinking it. And they both kind of admitted posting less on social lately anyway.
Okay, so we've really covered some ground here.
Right.
From a bike trip in Germany, tracing connections through tech communities,
To the evolution of platforms like Drupal, the nitty-gritty of building design systems and why governance matters so much.
and finally landing on these different perspectives on AI, where it fits, where it doesn't, at least for now.
Yeah, the goal was really to pull out those threads, those insights from the original chat.
And help you, the listener, connect those dots too.
So here's something to think about, building on all this. We heard how connections made in these tech circles can last for years. How skills learned building something like a Drupal site can pop up and be useful in totally unexpected ways, even running a retail shop.
Right.
So what does that tell you about the real lasting impact of these professional networks, the knowledge, the confidence we gain? How does it shape not just our careers, but maybe our whole journey?
What's the big takeaway for you from everything we've explored today?
Okay, we're done. To close off this podcast, I just wanted to remind you that this brief was a fully AI-generated summary, and we take no credit for the original content. If you want to learn more, then check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. And if you like this podcast, hit subscribe, post a link on social media, and recommend it to 2 friends. That's it. See you next time. Bye for now.